What is up, everyone? Welcome to Wrestle Recap. My name is Michelle Tate,
My name is Justin Tate.
and we are the only brother-sister duo that takes you on the journey of wrestling throughout the decades.
And not only do we have a fantastic time doing it, we're getting pretty good at it, I think.
Oh my God, we really are. Like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, I don't even want to go listen to our first episode because I bet we sound weird.
And now 10 episodes from now. Well, now we're on number 18. So
Yes.
our podcast can now legally buy lottery tickets.
Can you? Because I know, like, you can't buy cigarettes at 18 anymore. Did you know that?
I just found that out recently, but I think they figure, well, if you're giving money to the state technically for lottery tickets, it's fine.
Yeah, and I mean, I really think people would start smoking cigarettes just because they couldn't drink. So if you wait till 21, they'll just drink a lot instead of
Right.
smoking, so it's healthier. Well, let's get into current wrestling news this week. It's a little slow.
Yeah, we're kind of in pay-per-view la la land right now. We don't have any pay-per-views coming up for the next few weeks, towards the end of November anyway. Then we get two right in a row there. So nothing really coming up right now. One big thing that everybody's talking about in the WWE world, the continuation of the Bloodline versus Bloodline feud with Sami Zayn officially joining the fray. We think there's still like a little bit of friction there. We don't know what's going to happen, but that War Games match that we're going to have coming up at Survivor Series will be a lot of fun.
Oh, hell yeah. So do you think Cody gets integrated anywhere, or is it all Sami Zayn?
I don't think you need him.
I don't think so either.
I don't. You can do Cody and Roman stuff later, but the focus is Bloodline versus Bloodline. So why taint it,
Actually, the focus is Bloodline versus Timu Bloodline, and you said taint. Ha ha.
Yeah, I did. You know who I do wonder if they pop up at Survivor Series is Paul Heyman.
Ooh.
I haven't seen him in a while. Last time we saw him, he was getting powerbombed through a table on SmackDown by the new Bloodline. So could he show back up at Survivor Series to be in their corner for the original Bloodline? Could be fun.
Maybe he won't even show up as Paul Heyman. Maybe he'll be Paul E. Dangerously, and he'll bring
With
a
the
phone
giant
to
cell phone
smack.
and the
Yeah.
mullet. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, over on the AEW side, Powerhouse Hobbs made his big comeback. He's been out
Yeah.
for a while, like a year, right?
I don't think it's been that long because I was working on some Rasslestat stuff just earlier, updating it after last night, and he did have a few matches earlier this year.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I was really excited because, Ricochet had this big mystery partner, and I thought it could have been Dijak. I mean, they were trolling on Twitter, but I thought it was just going to be Will Ospreay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did, and then out of nowhere, out comes Powerhouse up. So good to see him again. I mean, big guy, talented. He's got a good look. So maybe now that he's healthy and ready to go, we'll get some good stuff out of him.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't current wrestling news, but I just want to know where the hell is Adam Copeland? Because I think people are like kind of forgetting about him, and he's going to have his big comeback moment, and I'm ready for it. I love him.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. Of course, he lives in Asheville, North Carolina, which was really, really hit hard by Hurricane Helene. FTR lives in Asheville as well. So I'm sure that things are still kind of getting weird depending on where they live in the city or in the county. But I hope we see him again soon because it's Adam Copeland. Come on.
I know. And didn't he just donate like $10,000 to Chris Bay's GoFundMe?
It wouldn't surprise me. I don't know.
I think he did. And I was just like, man, what a guy. But anyway, we got to go back to a time when Adam Copeland was just a baby. He was little. I don't even know if he was born. I assume he was born, but we're getting in that time machine and going back to 1989 finally.
Oh my God.
Ah, I love the Pee Wee
Okay.
yell.
All right. You know what? I forgot to wear my compression socks this time. I hope I don't get clots in my legs.
Justin, you need to get some of those before we go to Disney World here in about a month.
Dude, I have so many flights I'm taking in the next month that like I need a compression like hazmat suit just all over my body.
Do you know about another flight you're taking somewhat soon?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what it's for?
Yes, I do.
You're welcome. You can tell our listeners what you're getting for Christmas because of your sister.
You had the suggestion. The execution was my
Yes.
wife,
Yes.
who paid what I understand is a lot of money to fly the both of us to Dallas, and we are going to go see the Undertaker's One Dead Man show live. And she even paid for the VIP meet and greet. So he's tied for my top wrestler of all time with Shawn Michaels. And yeah, we're going to go meet the Undertaker.
You're on the front row too.
We are on the front row center. Yeah. So we're making a whole weekend out of it and doing some last minute Christmas shopping. So it's going to be fun.
Cool. You're a lot braver than me because I told her, I was like, hey, this is happening. I just got the email, but I was like, it's the weekend after we get back from Disney World. And I don't know if y'all want to travel. And she
Well,
showed
and
me, she was like,
the
Justin asked if it's breathing or if we have to travel for it.
yeah. Well, in the weekend before we go to Disney World, she and I are going to Virginia.
Oh,
And
Lord.
then the weekend after we do the Dallas thing for the Undertaker, we're going to Phoenix.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, December we're home for like less than half the days of the month.
That's how my whole year has been. My 2025 New Year's resolution is to travel less because I
Yeah,
get FOMO. Like these events
right.
happen. I'm like, I have to be there. And my first way of dealing with my FOMO is accepting I'm not paying that for WrestleMania. I'll watch it on TV.
Right. For the low low price of a Peacock subscription.
Exactly. Well, tell me about the show.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of Peacock, that's where we watched this one. It is the WWF Royal Rumble 1989. Took place on January 15th, 1989 at the Summit in Houston, Texas. That arena, the Summit, is now the central campus of Lakewood Church.
Is that the Joel Olstein Church?
It might be. I'm not sure, but it is one of those like mega churches that has entirely too much money and doesn't pay taxes. Just side note, attendance at this show was 19,000, and our commentaries is done tonight by Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura. And boy, am I excited for the number one song on January 15th, 1989. It's one of my favorites. It gets me grooving. Play it.
I did not know this was one of your favorite songs.
Well, it's just Phil Collins. Anything Phil Collins makes me feel like a kid again.
And it makes you feel like you're in Albertsons, right? Or like a
Yes.
United grocery store.
Yeah, you go into an Albertsons or United grocery store, you're going to hear a Phil Collins song. It's just law.
Well, I at first I thought this I had a different Two Hearts by Phil Collins in my head. I thought it was like slower and more sappy. And then when I started like listening to it, I was like, oh, it's this one. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
But Phil Collins, I didn't realize he had so many number one songs because I knew he was like famous and had famous music and I know his music, but I didn't realize he was number one
Oh,
a lot.
yeah. Like he had a long career. And before he was on his own, he was a member of the band Genesis and they had
Right.
hits. So,
True.
or maybe it came the other way around. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about the background of this show.
Let's do. Well, Phil Collins was there. No, I'm just kidding. Um, Unlike last year's Royal Rumble, which was aired for free on TV, this show aired on pay per view, making it the final piece of the puzzle that's known as WWE's Big Four pay per views. Still my favorite to this day. I love
Oh,
Royal
yeah.
Rumble. Oh, yeah. Well, there were actually two dark matches before the show, which were for the live crowd only. And it was Jim Powers who defeated Barry Horowitz, and Sam Houston defeated Steve Lombardi. Lombardi Leviosa. Didn't you just watch Harry Potter for the first time?
I just watched the first Harry Potter movie for the first time ever, and my wife is a huge fan of the Harry Potter movies, and she was terrified that I would hate it. And I didn't mind it. It was cute. It
You
was
know, like
cute.
I don't, because see, I'm not a Harry Potter person and I've watched all except for the very last movie. I don't hate it. I just can't get into it. And I can't get into it the way so many people from my generation got into it because the
Mm.
first book came out when I was like 9 or 10. So it is tailored to my generation. And I can't get into it. And Mark says it's because there's nothing scary about it. Or he was like, you don't like fantasy and you don't like childlike things. And I was like, maybe that's it.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
anyway, we gotta get into some I just thought that was funny. Steve Lombardi. And I was like, Lombardi Leviosa. But it's like,
It was cute. It was just as cute as the
thanks.
movie was.
Thanks. Well, can you hit me with some? Please.
I have Wrestle Stats, and we got Wrestle Stats over at Twitter. Wrestle Stats, also on Threads and Instagram. Wrestle Stats. Be sure to check that out. But for this show, before we get into these show-specific things, we do have to talk about this upcoming week. We have a couple of wrestling birthdays that we got to
Hell
talk
yeah.
about. 4 people who we have seen so far on pay-per-view. November 15th, Randy Savage would have turned 71 years old. How about that?
Amazing.
And then on November 16th, Harvey Martin, who took place in the WWF NFL Battle Royal at WrestleMania 2, he would have turned 74 years old. So there's your wrestling birthdays for this upcoming week. Now, for Royal Rumble 1989, the average age of wrestlers on this pay-per-view is 34 years old. The youngest, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, even though he wasn't the Heartbreak Kid yet, he was 23 on this show. The
Baby.
oldest, it's a tie at 45 years old, Bad News Brown and Harley Race. Would you have guessed that?
No, I was about to say Bad News Brown looks about 32. Harley Race looks about 50. So, yeah. No
Well,
offense.
average age of all the wrestlers we've covered so far who are still living, there's no change. It's still right at 70 years old. And the average age of death for all the wrestlers we've covered is 60 years old. So no change there. But the most important number, the one we celebrate every single week, out of the 183 wrestlers we have covered so far on Wrestle Recap, 103 of them are still alive for a percentage of 56.28%.
Still standing.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
All right. So we do have 4 wrestlers who we will not see wrestle in a match. Again, we might see them somewhere on a pay-per-view, but we will not see them wrestle on a pay-per-view again. Are you ready? Those 4. Big John Studd.
Hold up. Spoiler alert. He wins the Royal Rumble. So how's he going to win the Royal Rumble and then never be seen on a pay-per-view again?
We'll get to that.
Okay.
Okay. Big John Studd, Judy Martin, Rockin' Robin, and Outlaw Ron Bass. Those are the 4 who we're seeing for the last time wrestling in a match on pay-per-view. And there's no retiring championships after this show. So we got to get into the show itself. Are you ready?
Let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right. We get the now standard flyover of mountains and water before hearing Mean Gene Okerlund, the World Wrestling Federation, what the world is watching. I wish I had his voice. He had such a cool voice.
You have a cool voice.
Oh, why, thank you. Why, thank you.
You were a radio DJ.
That's true. I was. The opening has a purple background with yet another gold picture frame. Now, in the picture frame, we get a preview of all 30 wrestlers that will be in the Royal Rumble and various other matches as well, along with Vince McMahon saying each of their names. Bad News Brown. Honky Tonk Man. Yeah. Kind of sounds like he's talking through a poop. I'm just going to tell you now, I don't like this.
I don't like it
at all.
I hated it
because the whole idea of the Rumble is the surprise elements. You, even if you know who's going to be on the show, you don't know where they're going to come in, and I don't know. It just wasn't my thing.
Didn't they surprise us last year?
I think they did.
Yeah,
I don't think they announced anybody ahead of time.
Yeah. I like it that way better because it's a surprise. That's half of the Royal Rumble is the surprise of who it's going to be. I mean, like when Booker T came in, like no one expected that. And yeah, he got out in 8 seconds, but it was hella fun. But if you would have been told beforehand, you would have been like, he's only going to be in 10 seconds, whatever.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Anyway. We go to the arena shot, which is fully zoomed out to show how tiny the ring looks from the top of the church. I mean, venue. I mean, summit. Gorilla wearing a nice little velvet tuxedo, looking kind of fancy there with his blue glasses as well. And Jesse has traded in his pilgrim hat for a fedora, milady. Jesse says the extreme importance of the luck of the draw for the Royal Rumble is going to play a big bearing on the outcome of this match. And they do announce that we finally have a women's match on the show. We've not seen a women's match on pay-per-view in a year since the last Royal Rumble. Man. Crazy. Ring apron, magenta with a gold and silver Royal Rumble, looking majestic as it gets. Now, I want to tell you, before we move on here, just in this opening segment, I've pinpointed one of the main differences between WWF commentary and NWA WCW commentary. Mm-hmm. The WWF commentary sounds excited to be there. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah, because like Tony and them over on Indo were just kinda like, "Hello and welcome to the NWA."
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually a pretty good impersonation of how it sounds. But meanwhile, and yes, Gorilla does seem to yell everything he says, but he comes in, it is a happening, the Royal Rumble. And it's just like, yeah, it's the freaking Royal Rumble, man.
That
I
is a
love it.
very good point. Yeah, like I never like I'd noticed it, but I hadn't like consciously thought about it. But yeah, and I mean, it definitely does hype you up when you're watching from your couch 30 years later.
Yeah, and it sounds like they're having fun doing the commentary rather than on the other side where they're just calling moves.
Right. Well, I just want to point out Jesse's incredible outfit. So he has this t-shirt with a very realistic photo of a great white shark and he has a black leather jacket over it. And like, Justin, this is my style. This is like what I wear. And so I love it. I just bought this sweater and it has a great white shark on it and it like gave money to some foundation and I'm really loving this look, Jesse.
Do you remember the t-shirt I had as a kid that said like Shark Attack and on the side it had like a chunk
And it had
torn
fake
out of the
blood on it.
t-shirt?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was
Yeah.
like one of those shirts, like, you know how, like, when I had holes in my jeans, like, our grandpa would be like, "You need some money for new jeans?" Like, you bought that shirt with a hole in it that looked
Right,
like jagged
exactly.
with shark teeth.
Yeah, showing all my ribs.
Yeah, you definitely had those ribs because, well, you still have all those ribs, but
Keyword had. I'm married to a foodie.
they're in there somewhere, whatever.
Yeah,
You're still in a small, you're just not in an extra small, right?
exactly.
All right, well, let's set up the first match. It is a 2 out of 3 falls six-man tag team match. So on one side, we've got Dino Bravo and the Fabulous Rajos. That's my favorite name to say. Versus the Hart Foundation and Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Oh,
Oh, he posted something this week like, "Go vote. Yeah, America, America, ho." And I was like, he still got it. He still got it. So all of these guys we saw on Survivor Series 1988. So not too long ago. Jacques Rougeau is our youngest. He's 28. And our oldest is Dino Bravo at 40, Mr. Macaroni Head. He's my favorite. Then the rest, they're kind of hanging out in their mid 30s, along with me. So I like it. But hey, man, this is the first time we hear Bret Hart's music on pay-per-view, and I got full body chills.
heck yes. And even though they altered it in the early 90s and added that guitar squeal at the beginning, and Natalia actually still uses an altered version of it, hearing that original just felt so good. Like just that it kicks in that chunk, 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 chunk. Oh, God. Love it.
I got up and did a lap around the living room. I was like, "Oh, yeah." I did decide at the beginning of this match that if the Hart Foundation and Jim don't win, I quit. Like, I quit all wrestling.
Oh, I hope they won. I don't want to do this by myself.
Well,
It's a lot.
a quick glimpse of the audience reveals that merch is selling Hacksaw Jim Duggan foam 2x4s. And like, that's the merch I need. Like, can you imagine if we had those? Like, I would have been whacking the crap out of everyone I know.
Yeah, and then you'd bite a chunk out of it because, as we
Shut
said last week, you
up.
you like to bite squishy things.
Shut up. I'm so embarrassed. I showed that clip to Mark and he was like, "You really did that?" Like, it's like he thought I was too intelligent to do anything like that. Oh, you're embarrassing. Well, I will say Hacksaw Jim Duggan is truly like one of the best things to happen to wrestling because I didn't know a lot about him before we started this podcast. And recently in an interview, my man Sting, he talked about how wrestling these days is really lacking colorful characters. And a lot of people are like, "Well, you wore black and white." And it's like, no, he's not talking about color. He's talking about colorful characters because everyone kind of is cool. There's nothing super zany. I mean, maybe the Outrunners, but I think this is kind of the kind of character he's talking about, like one that is just so big and loud and kind of in your face, but in a good way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's just it. Hacksaw didn't win a single championship in WWF ever.
Right.
But he's
Man.
one of the most memorable people in the WWF's history because of just how out there he was. And if you watch interviews with him now, at one point he had a podcast. I don't think he has it anymore, but he is like the nicest, sweetest man you could ever hear talk. Like he just seems like you want to hang out with him. And
Yeah.
And yeah, just
Yeah.
love Hacksaw.
I follow him on Twitter just because he'll post like, "I'm at the county fair with my wife," and he has a corn dog, and I'm like, "You're so wholesome, Jim. You're so wholesome." Well, he gets right off the bat. Jim gets a huge scoop slam, and the crowd goes wild, man.
Yeah, and he also hits the shoulder block on Dino Bravo, and it just makes like this slap sound, like so loud. It's just like bulk on bulk,
It's like, man, where are they keeping the boom mics? Because those slaps were loud.
right?
Another difference I kind of noticed in WWF and NWA or WCW now is dramatic pauses in matches. Okay, because a big move gets hit and then Bret Hart just kind of sits up and the camera just stays on him. He's just kind of breathing and looking around. And that's something that doesn't really happen over on NWA. They just kind of keep going, but that's what I'm gonna call it, the dramatic pauses. Notice it. What? I thought you froze.
No, I was just giving you a dramatic pause.
No, shut up. I
Um,
hate you. I hate you so much. I fell for that. Like you froze and I was like, "Oh god, are things messed up?" I hate you. I quit again.
okay, we'll see in a couple seconds. There's a spot in this match where all three of the heels are stacked up against the turnbuckle, like back to belly, and then Jim Neidhart is thrusting his shoulder into whoever is in front, forcing the three bad guys to thrust into each other repeatedly. I think I saw this on a pop-up ad late one night in my single days, actually.
Well, I was gonna comment on it, but I thought I'd be more mature because I'm always the immature one. So hey,
No,
you did it.
no, no.
No, and it was weird because I was kind of like, how is this hurting the second or third guy at all? I mean, like,
It's hurting them. It might be hurting
oh.
their pride a little bit, but
Well, the Rougeaus get the first pinfall. Jacques jumps on Brett from the top rope, setting up an easy pin for Raymond. I was kind of surprised that Brett took one of the pins. I really was.
yeah. Did you also notice that their shorts, the Rougeaus, instead of saying fabulous on the butt, it says fabulo, like Leaux.
It didn't. I didn't realize that, but it makes so much sense.
Yeah, like I had never realized that before. Maybe it was new here, but I thought it was a funny little touch.
That is funny. Yeah. Well, hey, Jesse says the church, I mean, the venue is
Yes.
completely sold out because he's never been to Houston before and they all knew the body was coming.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure. And that's also the moment when Gorilla Monsoon says the fans are literally hanging from the rafters, which sounds terrible. Also hanging from the rafters, two giant Royal Rumble banners. I don't know how big these things are. I'm guessing at least the size of the ring, so at least 20 by 20, but maybe bigger. But one of them, this entire show, is swinging from side to side the whole night, not just a little bit, big swings all night long. Really powerful air conditioning in that church. I mean, venue.
Maybe it was Jesus letting his presence be known.
You know, they needed Brother Love on this show just to
No,
really complete.
no, Brother Love doesn't need to be on any show ever again.
Another arena note, we have an actual entrance here with a big WWF logo above the curtain. Good to see that change. We might have seen that at last year's WrestleMania. I can't remember, at Trump Plaza, but it's definitely here and very, very noticeable. I liked it.
I think you would have noticed it if it had happened before because I noticed it this time and I was like, maybe it's been there, but you for sure would have noticed that.
Yeah, maybe so.
Bro, your eyes are like super green today. I think it's your
Well,
green
thank
shirt.
you. Well, thank you. I rubbed olives in my eyes before I got on camera.
Were they the green ones? Is
Oddly, no, they were Kalamata. It's weird.
that what those are called? I call them Kalamata, not Kalamata. Didn't you
I
just
could be
run for
wrong.
president?
Oh my God, stop it.
Oh gosh. Carrot Top has a funny bit about that. He goes, comma, 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 comma. And he cuts off Karma Chameleon. He's like, what's the name? Comma, comma, comma. Anyway, we talked about this before, but Bret Hart going face first into the turnbuckle. Oh, it just hurts me every time I see it.
Back first or face first. I don't know how he does it, but he slams into
Oh.
that thing and it sounds like it snaps the metal in the turnbuckle. I don't get it.
And, like, I watch it, like, I watch his nose and his face, and it is a hard impact. I don't know how he does it.
I don't know.
Ooh, ooh.
He's
Well,
the excellence of execution.
apparently,
Yeah.
he's in the ring and they're chanting USA, Justin. And Jesse says, "Why are they chanting USA when Hitman is from Calgary?" And I had just said that out loud because I was like, I understand that like Hacksaw Jim Duggan is on their side, but like, why are you doing a USA chant for Brett? He's Canadian. What?
Well, and if you think about it, like everybody in that ring, other than Jim, is Canadian, aren't they? Like, other than Duggan. Well, Neidhart, I think, was born maybe in like California, but he's associated with Canada just by marrying into the
Yeah,
Hart family.
and, like, maybe people didn't even know they were from Canada because the internet didn't exist, so,
That
like,
could
it
be.
wasn't super well known, especially to, like, casuals.
But you just brought it up a second ago. Gorilla tries to excuse it by saying, "Well, it's because he's on Duggan's team." But that just, nine times out of 10, when Gorilla excuses something that Jesse rightfully points out, his excuse just doesn't hold water. It's like, all right, nice try, Gorilla. Jesse's right.
I know, and it's like he's, like, I don't know, WWF's little simp, he's trying to make it make sense, and I'm like, "No, no, man, it doesn't." Well, next up, Brett's struggling in the Boston Crab, and he finally gets over. I mean, he's crawling. You're like trying to help him from your couch, and he gets the tag in with Jim, but the ref didn't see it. And I'm like, how did you not see it? Like, that is your only job is to see it.
Yeah, there was a lot of ref distraction stuff going on in this match. Not as much as some matches we've seen, but it was kind of like, all right, guys, it's already long enough with it being 2 out of 3 falls. Like, let's go.
I know, man. Well, the second pinfall does go to Hacksaw Jim Duggan, who got the pin over Raymond Rougeau.
Yeah,
Rougeau.
and here's something I didn't like. The rules are that the two guys who are involved in the last fall have to be the two guys to start the next fall. But it seems like it would make a better match if it had to be two fresh guys, right?
Yeah, that would make it way more interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even know that that rule existed until you just told me. That's dumb.
Yeah, it is.
Ugh. Well, can confirm Gorilla is not saying the fruit basket, he's saying the bread basket. Um, Mr. Xander on Twitter, you told me it was the bread basket, and I kind of I questioned you. I didn't fully believe you, and now confirmation. I'm sorry. I did not believe you, Xander Demira. Sorry.
Xander, thank you for the follow and thank you for straightening my sister out. We've all been trying for years and years.
He's awesome. So he watches wrestling, but he's also a huge Texas Longhorns fan. So we follow
Yeah.
each other. Never met him or anything, but yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I remember Xander. Yeah, I've seen him around.
Yeah.
Inverted atomic drop on Jacques Rougeau, and he sells it by wiggling around on the mat like a sick cockroach. He's like holding his junk and just like kind of scooting around. It's really funny.
Ooh, that gave me chills because I was thinking about like, oh, when you're a kid and like probably because I get my house exterminated so much because I'm terrified of cockroaches. But like I remember when I'd see a roach and it's on its back and oh, that gave me chills, man. I hated that. Ooh. Man, well, we're wrapping it up, man, because Jim Duggan hits Dino Bravo with his 2x4 when the ref isn't looking, and Brett got the final pin in 17 minutes and 54 seconds. But wait, are faces allowed to cheat?
Well, if you ask Gorilla Monsoon, somehow the heels deserved it. I'm sure.
There he goes again, justifying everything for everyone.
Exactly. Exactly. Like I get that it was his job, but sometimes it's like, no, this is just wrong.
Yes. And like, let us question them. Like, it makes it more
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, of course. Of
Anyway, we
course.
go backstage to Ted DiBiase, who's standing at the bingo hopper, the raffle drum. What do you call that thing?
I think it's called a bingo hopper. That's what I call it.
I literally had to go to our mom's office because we worked together. And I asked her, I said, what are those things with the balls in it for the lottery? And she's like, a hopper? And I didn't believe her. So I had to come Google that. But yes, so he's in one of those with the numbers in it. And so Ted says he has the $1,000,000 hand for the $1,000,000 pick. He keeps doing this menacing evil laugh. He's like, nah,
Yeah.
nah. He picks a ball, kind of looks at it, and then calls in Slick. Ted asks Slick if he's happy with the numbers that he picked for his guys. And Slick kind of giggles and says yes. Then they go off screen to, quote, talk. Honky Tonk
Mm.
Man picks his number and just gets mad, of course. That's a honky tonk reaction for you. Several others come in, pick their numbers, both good and bad reactions. And Jake comes in. He has a snake wrapped around him when he picks his number. And he states that he just hopes Andre is still in there when he gets there.
Ooh, I have a feeling that will happen.
I
Just a
have a
hunch.
feeling too. Me too.
Just a
Just a
hunch.
hunch. Let's get into the next one, the women's match, Justin.
Yes, it is the only title match on this show. There's only 4 matches total on the show, and we've already looked at one. Here's the second one. It's a singles match for the WWF World Women's Championship. The challenger, Judy Martin, versus the champion, Rockin' Robin. Now, as I said earlier, we have not seen a women's match on pay-per-view since last year's Royal Rumble. It's a crime, right? Well, Judy
Crime.
Martin was in that match that we saw last year, but Rockin' Robin, we haven't seen her since Survivor Series 1987. So it's been a while. Judy Martin, 33 years old here. Rockin' Robin, 24. And this is a really, really short match. So we won't have a whole lot to talk about here. Judy Martin, she's already in the ring when we go to the arena from all the backstage stuff. No entrance. And like, I understand it's the women at the time, and it was just kind of an attraction to have a women's match. And Judy Martin is the challenger, but really, you couldn't have taken time out of anything else on the show to give her her own entrance.
Yeah, especially because she's kind of one of the more veteran women at this point, and knowing what comes for the rest of the night, I'm like, you could have sacrificed 20, 30 seconds, I promise you.
You could have sacrificed enough time to at least double the time of this match with entrances and still been fine.
Fully
Like,
agree with you, Justin.
yeah, but
Yeah.
we'll get into all that shortly. Judy is also announced at 152 pounds, which made me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, they didn't announce Rockin' Robin's weight, and like they say Judy is 152 pounds, and like she did not look happy to be there. She looked
Yeah,
like,
no, she did
oh.
not.
But you know what, Judy, 152 pounds is a very healthy weight. Good job. But okay, what was this music for Rockin' Robin? It was like some honky tonk, not honky tonk man, honky tonk like country stuff. Was that her real music?
So I think I heard commentary say, and I could have misheard this, but I'm pretty sure I heard them say that she was coming out to the same music as her brother, Sam Houston.
Hmm. She should have
So
had Rockin' Robin. Tweet, tweedledee.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
seriously. Well, before the match, we get some excitement. Sensational Sherry comes up and gets in the ring, gets on the mic, and she says that she challenges the winner of this match because she is, quote, more woman than either one of you are both put together.
Dang, fighting words, Sherry. I like it.
I like
I
it
like it,
too.
but the problem is whenever she said because, my wrestling brain started going, New Day Rocks. New Day Rocks. Yeah, I've been
She
watching
should have
way too
whipped out
long.
Francesca out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
right.
Well, during the match, man, Judy runs into the turnbuckle. You know how hard Bret Hart hits his face? Well, she hit that hard right in her chest, right in the boobs. And like, as a woman, ow. I was like
Yeah.
holding myself, like, ow, that hurts. But they are in swimsuits again. So there was no padding. But when do they get real gear, Justin? Do you know?
I think once the women's division somewhat kind of picks up again in the early 90s, yeah, probably around there. But
Good.
that strong air conditioning that I mentioned earlier,
Uh-huh.
it's not a good mix with these thin swimsuits on the women. Thought Rockin' Robin was about to poke 2 holes in my screen.
I didn't even notice that, but that's so funny. Oh God. Oh,
She was
that's
happy to be there.
I don't even think Mark knows that. You nasty, but no, I mean, maybe she's just real excited. Who knows? Who knows? But Sherry is savage because I mean, I feel kind of
No,
bad.
Randy is savage. Sherry is. Oh, I see. I see.
She's savage. She's about to steal Elizabeth's man whenever she goes to Hulk Hogan. But anyway, I just like to make drama that's not actually there. But she's more entertaining on commentary than the matches. Like, I feel bad saying that, but like, she is the first woman on commentary that has known what she's talking about.
Right. Like it's not like Susan St. James or Elvira.
Yeah, or other Susan, no, like
Yeah.
but she's being savage, man, like, she says Rockin' Robin's too skinny, she looks like a bird, she's tearing these women apart, and, like, I think if she did that now, like, the crowd wouldn't respond well to it, they'd be like, "No, women need to uplift other women." It's like, "Guys, she's kidding, I'm sure these women are her friends."
Yeah, exactly. And well, I mean, really, she's the only woman we've seen with like any personality at all, like commentary in the ringer, aside from like maybe Wendy Richter when they were doing the whole thing with Cyndi Lauper. But really, Sherry is like the first woman so far that I've sat up and gone, oh, she's fun.
Mhm. Yeah, and she was also what was her name as the other character?
Oh,
Peggy?
Peggy Sue.
Yeah, Peggy Sue, yeah, and I'd forgotten about that, so she has some, character diversity there, but, bro, this wasn't a great match, not a great showing for the ladies.
Yeah, I was watching it and it was like I could point out good things. I felt like especially Judy Martin bumped really well. Like she
Mhm.
she missed, I think it was an elbow drop, and when she hit the mat, it sounded like one of the guys hitting the mat. I mean, like it was good for what women's matches were at the time. Now, it wouldn't hold a candle to a women's match today.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
Rockin' Robin, she wins the match and retains her championship in just 6 minutes and 24 seconds. And match wise, we're now halfway done with the show.
Oh, but there's a lot more to come.
Oh, is there? In fact, if you are here for just the strictly match commentary, I need you to go to the store, buy yourself like a steak or maybe a pot roast
Pot roast.
and get it all prepared, maybe marinate it overnight, and then do all the preparations with the sides and everything. Call a bunch of your friends, but only on a house phone. You might have to go buy one of those too. Then bring the house phone back and get a phone line installed in your house so you can use said house phone. And by the time you do all of that, we might be back to the next match.
It's a lot,
Maybe.
Justin, and I feel bad that this kinda landed on you. I tried to help you out as much as I could with the notes.
All right, let's get into it. So
Let's
after
do
that
it.
match, they show some kids in the crowd playing with action figures because, why watch the show your parents paid for when you could just make up your own right there in your hands? Um, then we get the WrestleMania 5 graphic, which I kind of loved this. Okay. It's
Oh,
this
I did.
blue and pink screen with stars flying everywhere, followed by the date, April 2nd, 1989. And this is the first of a few times that we're going to see this teaser. And I love it because it's quick, like less than 10 seconds, and it's got those 80s vaporwave vibes with the pink blending into the blue. And
Hell yeah.
I liked that a lot.
Same.
So let's get into it. Sean Mooney is backstage with Slick, Big Boss Man, and Akeem, aka the Twin Towers. Definitely pre-taped, as right before we see them, you can hear somebody say 3, 2, and then they start talking.
Yep.
Um, Akeem is doing the weird thing with his hand constantly. Boss Man is holding his 25-pound nightstick. Now, Slick denies the accusations that he made a deal with Ted DiBiase, but then Sean, you know what he does? Sean Mooney, he pulls the damn receipts. He
Mhm.
shows the video clip from what we saw earlier with Ted and Slick and them going off to talk. And after the video, Slick says, it is none of your business, and goes on to talk about how great the Twin Towers are going to be tonight. But how was Slick surprised that there was footage of this? You're in a TV studio with TV lights and a TV camera around TV people going 3, 2. This actually could have been a fun storyline if Slick did this behind the Twin Towers' backs and it was caught on a security camera. That'd be kind of cool. But just playing like you didn't know there was a camera there, come on, man.
Maybe it's because they've never pulled receipts before, so he was like, "There's no way they're gonna go back and show this again." Oh, but they did.
Oh, they did. They did. Sean Mooney, he's a sneaky one, little investigative reporter there. In the ring, Howard Finkel introduces Mean Gene Okerlund, who says, this is the one we've all been waiting for. So that means it's Rumble time, right?
Oh
No,
my god.
no. It is the Super Posedown, where the crowd will determine the winner based on their response. I can hear the excitement coming across the airwaves right now. So the dubbed Rick Rude theme music plays, and out comes Rick Rude with Bobby Heenan. I'm sure the commentary was really good here, but the dubbed music completely drowns it out.
Yeah, you can
And
tell someone's talking, but you can't hear what they're saying.
yeah, and I'll just tell you now, throughout this whole time, every time that Rick does one of his poses, they're playing the music and you can't hear the commentary. It's really
Mhm.
annoying. So Rick cuts a quick promo before the Ultimate Warrior's music plays. Warrior runs to the ring like Ric Flair running for last call. Rick Rude
Heyo.
says his first pose will be a double bicep. So his music starts, he removes his robe and proves that he has biceps, and Warrior does the same. And the crowd cheers louder for Warrior. It's pretty fun. Pretty fun. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
didn't add the part that the whole time he's gyrating while showing those
He
biceps.
is. He is. Yes. He's wiggling what his mama gave him. Um,
Ugh.
Rick's second pose is his specialty, he says, the best abs. It was funny here because Jesse says, best abs. That's your stomach, gorilla, where the bananas go. I liked that. Rick proves that he has abs, and Warrior does the same. And the crowd says, yay. So, Rick's third pose is what he calls the most muscular pose. He basically crosses his hands over his crotch and then just tightens all of his muscles. But it was funny because Rick Rude has his own face airbrushed onto the crotch of his tights. So it looks like he's playing peekaboo with the fake Rick down there. And then Warrior does some posing and confirms that they are both most muscular or something. And the
I'm not gonna
crowd
lie, all these
says,
poses look the exact same to me.
they do. It's just them holding their breath and like
Yes.
clenching up. And
Yes.
yeah, it's dumb. Everybody in this ring, Mean Gene, The Fink, Warrior, and Rick Rude, they're all dead now, by the way. Just pointing that out because it's more entertaining than this segment. Rick says his fourth pose. Come on, man. 4. Everything is in threes. Don't we know this by now? You do everything in threes in entertainment. Stop with this. Anyway, he says it's a medley of poses, and he spends about 30 seconds doing various poses. And I'm telling you right now, it is at this moment that I realized if I were a kid, or really any age, if somebody walked in on me watching Rick Rude posing and flexing to his weird stripper music, they would have questions.
That is so true. Like that's a weird thing for kids to watch. I will say, Justin, this morning, my husband Mark got out of
Oh
the
no.
shower
Oh
and he's
no.
standing in front of the mirror and he has his biceps and he's doing the weird he goes, I'm Rick Rude to himself in the mirror. And I was like, oh my God, you just gave me podcast material. Thank you. So that was entertaining. Definitely kids didn't need to see that. I don't even know if I needed to see that.
Well, Rick Rude, after that, he returns to his corner. Now, we should tell you, throughout all of this, Rick Rude has this metal bar with a spring in the middle. I forget what they're called, but it's like really hard to bend, right? Bend that spring. So as Warrior is posing, Bobby Heenan sprays him in the face with baby oil, and then Rude whacks Warrior with the metal bar thing, beating him down with it, choking it with him until the referees and agents rush down to pull him off. And then as the referees and agents are checking on Warrior, Warrior just like pops up and starts wrecking these innocent guys, like punches, slams, clotheslines. It's referees. I think Pat Patterson was out there somewhere. And then he just runs to the back. Like, what the hell is that?
I don't know, but I don't know if you just saw that. I had to mute my mic because I yawned. I've never yawned on this podcast before, ever, because I'm usually so hyped, but this made me yawn.
I'm sorry. Should I go? Am I not entertaining enough for you? Is that
entertaining. It's just like I feel like I'm listening to this on Audible. It's a book.
Well, all told, from beginning to end, this entire pose down segment was 17 minutes long. Like, if you told me to either spend 17 minutes watching this again or 17 minutes watching an elephant take a dump while spinning its tail around, get me the raincoat. I'm going in.
Well, that makes it sound like that you're going to join the pose down with your raincoat and then
Oh, I will do a pose down. I will. Not against Mark. Mark's bigger than me, but I will do a pose down. Speaking of, After the pose down, now we're ready for the Rumble. No, we're not.
No,
No,
no.
no, no. Because now we're backstage with a bunch of blue screen interviews, right? So Mr. Fuji says the powers of pain are coming for demolition, and he says there can only be one winner tonight, and it will be him. Okay, Mr. Fuji's not in the Rumble, but great. Then we go to Mean Gene Okerlund, who's backstage with Miss Elizabeth. He asks her who she is going for in the Royal Rumble, meaning between Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan, the Mega Powers. And
Drama.
she says, I'll be cheering for them both. Great, Elizabeth. He asks her who she will cheer for if it comes down to being between Randy and Hulk. And she says she tries not to think about it and will not give an answer. That was time well spent. By the way, that women's match, 6 minutes earlier, no entrance for Judy Martin. Jimmy Hart, he's fired up, brother. He's excited to be hyping up both Greg Valentine and the Honky Tonk Man, except he said something weird, and I wasn't sure if I heard it right, but then he did it again. He doesn't say Valentine. No. Jimmy Hart says Valentine, like when you were a kid. And
I
suddenly like,
hated those.
Happy Valentine's Day. That's what
No,
Jimmy Hart
I
does.
I never said that as a kid because I hated the kids that said that. It drove me nuts. It was like
Yeah,
when they would say, "We're going to the library."
yeah. Right. Well, finally, we're back to the arena. Gorilla says that it's the Royal Rumble and you may see things you don't particularly care to see. Boy, Gorilla, you can say that again. Jesse is sitting on a golden throne, and I could be wrong, but I really think it's the same King of the Ring throne that they would use years after this when King of the Ring became its own pay-per-view. I'm pretty sure it is. Jesse says maybe he should be king of the WWF, and quite honestly, I wouldn't argue that. I mean, Jesse's pretty great. But he says that Bobby Heenan is the real winner because he manages both Haku and Harley Race.
Ugh. Well, before we get into this match, I just gotta say, the pose down, like it was way too long, but it really wore me out. Like at this point, I almost pushed pause and ended it for the night because I was like, that was so long. I'm tired. I gotta take a break for now. So I can't
Yeah.
imagine if you were actually there. But next singles match, it's Harley Race versus King Haku. And this was kind of
Excuse you.
random. This was random, right? Like, I mean, I know Harley Race was the king of the ring, and then now it's Haku, but like, why did this need to be on here?
I don't know. I don't know.
I just didn't know if I was missing something.
But between the last Royal Rumble and this Royal Rumble, it's almost like the only thing that really made sense to be on the show was the Rumble itself. Like, and then there was just a bunch of other stuff that was like, okay, I guess, you know?
Yeah, well, both of these guys both wrestled on Survivor Series 1988, but quite a big age gap. You know, as you said earlier, Harley Race is 45, one of the oldest on the show, and King Haku is 29. So let's get into the match. It's not a very long one either.
No. So King Haku is carried to the ring on a separate throne, but he's being, this is so weird. He was being carried by 6 wrestlers, all of them nameless. Like, we don't know who these guys were, but they're in their wrestling gear. Like, why? Like, at least have them wear like a all black jumpsuits or something. But you got one guy in a singlet, one guy in tiny little trunks. That was weird.
The only thing I can think is maybe they were locals who were like, I want to, they go to a wrestling school in Houston or something. And you know how they would get like the locals, like the ring boys or whatever? Maybe it was something like that. And they just wanted their time to be on TV. Like if you're never signed, I was still a wrestler on a WWF pay-per-view.
Yeah, I actually knew a guy. I don't know him anymore. I haven't seen him in years, but he could say that he was on WrestleMania because that one John Cena entrance that he had with that whole line of John Cena clones going up and down the aisle, he was one of those John Cenas.
No way. Who was it?
Chance.
Oh, the guy that you worked with in like indie wrestling around here.
Yeah.
Okay. I had no idea. I did not know that. I figured that might be who you were talking about, but I didn't know he looks like a John Cena.
He doesn't, but you put a cap and a John Cena shirt on him and,
Right. Well, hey, Harley's gotten even more ink. He's got that tattoo addiction. You know, they say once you get one, you got to get others. He's got more.
Hey, the crown on his butt is still off center, and that's all I really notice. Like, wouldn't you feel that? Like, when your underwear gets twisted around And I don't care what kind of plumbing you got down there, like you can feel it.
Yeah, but I mean, the crown, it's like a decoration. So, like the underwear I have on today, they have a golden retriever dog on them, and it's like
But is
over
it off
on
center?
yes, because it's on the left hip.
Well,
And
that's I can't have that. I can't have that.
well,
Yeah.
it is off center. I'm gonna blame wardrobe for that. Or I don't know if Harley was married, but if he had a wife, she would have told him because that bugs women too. So, well, Haku has a crazy tough forehead, man, because he headbutts Harley right in the forehead. And I was like, oh my God, ow. I expected a lot of blood from that. And then he takes a pile driver from Harley and it like doesn't even phase him. He just landed on his head. It's fine.
Yeah. No, that headbutt looked nasty. But like we talked about when we first saw Haku, he's one of the toughest guys there's ever been in wrestling in real life. So even if he did tag Harley for real, Haku was probably like, ooh, what's that tickle?
Right. Well, man, I think that pose down, it killed the mood. Because if you notice during the pose down, the crowd was silent. They were like, let's go get popcorn, let's go get M&Ms. But during this match, the crowd was so dead. Like maybe this could be like the match so far out of this whole podcast where I've never seen a crowd more dead than in this match. It was bad.
Yeah, and Gorilla tried to cover for it. He was saying, a hush has fallen over this crowd. Well, yeah. Like we haven't seen a match since the 6-minute women's match. That was like 5 days ago.
Yeah, we had to break for food and water. That's what we had to do.
Yeah.
One of us got dysentery. So this match, it just felt so off to me, and I really can't explain it. It's almost like the whole thing was in slow motion. It was very
Yeah.
strange.
It's I could see what they were going for. And it's not even necessarily that it was like a bad idea to show them as being evenly matched, but it was almost like a little bit too much back and forth. Like it seemed like the match was going nowhere.
Yes, and, like, literally every time they moved, it was like, and so I
Yeah.
guess I didn't realize that's what they were going for, so thank you for pointing that out because didn't catch that.
Boy, does Haku make a lot of noise. Like throughout this whole match, constantly he's going, oh ha 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 ha, oh shoot ha 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 ha,
Was
oh
that
ha
him?
ha ha.
Okay, I couldn't tell what that sound was.
Yeah, that was him, which I guess like would kind of help if you're calling a spot in the ring because you can go, oh ha ha ha, oh suplex, ha 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 ha, well, but boy, it was a lot.
It was. Well, he hits a reverse thrust kick to Harley's face and pins him in 9 minutes and 1 second, and the crowd goes completely silent. They don't care.
They did not care. But you know what? I will say this. I did have time for one observation after the match that I wanted to point out as another difference between WWF and NWA, WCW at the time. After they show the replay of the finish, the camera is close up on Haku, the ringside handheld camera, close up on Haku. And he says something to the camera that I can't remember, but that's when it hit me. WWF wrestlers seem to be aware that they are on a TV show. NWA wrestlers only seem to be aware that they are wrestling in a match. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
Yes, and you're very right. It's kinda like how I mentioned last week, it's like they just do their match and leave while, WWF wrestlers are trying to, like, hype the crowd or get boos or whatever. So, yeah, it's kind of that awareness of a crowd of something other than just winning this match for myself.
It's the difference between a TV show that happens to have wrestling on it and a bunch of wrestling matches where there happens to be a TV camera.
Yeah, definitely. And it's weird because all these things we're pointing out are things that become standard in the industry across all of the companies because they work,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Well, after this match, Brutus Beefcake, we're backstage with him, and he says he's going to be the last man, and that's what it's all about. And I was like, I thought that was the hokey pokey. Hello.
Makes me want to go to the roller skating rink we went to as kids, the hokey pokey.
Oh, I could do that hokey pokey on skates. I would die now, but we should go, Justin. I really think we need to get a group together and go.
I think that'd be fun. We should. We should just get like our sister, her husband, their kids, you and your husband, me and my wife. We should just go. It'd be fun.
No, we're not taking the kids because they'll want to hold my hand and they'll pull me down with them. And I'm not going down with them. They're not my kids. I'm not doing that. Well, Greg Valentine's up next, and he says he can't trust anyone but himself. And I'm like, bro, you're right. That is life. You can only trust yourself. But speaking of Greg, I swear his hair is growing. He it cracks me up because he's got like this mullet with like big Aquanet 80s bangs. It's incredible. And like I feel like every woman named like Debbie Lynn has that haircut. Even now in 2024, like it gives vibes of Debbie Lynn works at the local car dealership, has her 10 and 2 o'clock smoke breaks. Like, is Debbie Lynn with the Greg Valentine hair? Am I wrong here?
I think we might need to just call him Debbie Lynn from here on
I
out.
think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, the powers of pain are with Mr. Fuji, and they're just breathing hard the whole time, like while Mr. Fuji's talking. And I'm not even paying attention to Fuji because I guess this is intimidating, but they're like,
Oh my God. You just intimidated me so much. I'm
I know. Well,
scared. It works.
at this point, there's too much chatter going on for me. Like after the pose down and everything. So I'm just going to say everyone thinks they're going to win and they tell the camera that. That
Yeah,
is
pretty
easier.
much.
It's Big John Studd, Mr. Perfect, Randy Savage. That's easier to say. But Randy Savage was cracking me up though, because he kept saying, yeah, after every sentence. It'd be like, zillions of people will witness. Yeah. People that come in the ring will feel the pain. Yeah. It was like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So now I've been walking
Uh-huh.
around
Yeah.
going, yeah, all the time. Then we got Bobby Heenan and his team, followed by Hulk Hogan. And they all say that they're going to win. So there's just way too much chatter on this pay per view for me at this point. Do you agree? Like, I just,
It's I know that they're trying to fill time because they got, pay-per-view windows, satellite commitments, that sort of thing. But my God, it's a lot of people doing the same thing over and over and over. But the good news,
hmm,
it is now time for the Royal Rumble.
it is about time, man. Woohoo!
So let's get into it. The Fink gives us the rules that we all know and love. 30-man Royal Rumble. Entrant number 1, Axe of Demolition.
Yes, and he's got all that silver face paint as always, but isn't that like not good for you? Like, didn't it take out Buddy Ebsen as the Tin Man?
Yeah, I would hope that they did something better than what happened back when they were doing the Wizard of Oz, but who knows? Who knows? Entrant number 2, his co-tag team champion, Smash from Demolition. How about that?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that they actually fought each other because really, I thought they just kind of chill and wait for the others to come fight them. Like, I wouldn't, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't fight my partner. Like, I'd want someone else to do it.
Every man for himself, Michelle. This should actually be called the Glitter Rumble. Like they're coming down the aisle, and I swear it looks like they just ran through what's that? Claire's in the
Claire's.
mall.
I love
Yeah.
Claire's.
Also, with these two guys fighting in their bondage gear, I thought maybe I clicked on that pop-up ad that I talked about earlier. I don't know. It
It's
just
bad, man, and, like, even if you're, like, Lex Luger, like, the buffest dude in the world, it's still bad, but when you got some weight on you, it just kinda cuts it's like the Play-Doh, factory, like and I'm not hating because if I were to wear, like, a string bikini, my hip fat would be spilling over that too, so I get it, but it's just not a good look. They really need to change that gear up.
Well, they're going at each other, and then entrant number 3 comes down the aisle, Andre the Giant.
Yes. I was very surprised they brought him out this fast. And I kind of wish
Yeah.
they would have saved him for later because, some of the smaller guys, they can kind of hide off in the corner and rest, but he's too big and too noticeable to hide and like rest. So I feel like he could have come in at, 24 or 25 and believably lasted a while toward the end, but when he comes in at number 3, you're like, well, Andre's not winning because he can't last that long.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's just it too. Is we know that his health is going downhill at this point, and
Yeah.
so that was another surprising thing. It was like, well, why do this early? But I don't know. Side note: it also seems, at least in the beginning, that the crowd could not see the countdown timer. They're not counting along.
Yeah. Well, see, later in the matches, I notice it that they're counting down. I was like, did they count last year? I couldn't remember. But so you're telling me in the beginning they weren't doing it. I thought I just noticed it later.
Yeah, no, I think they weren't because I noticed it later when they finally started. It's like, oh, now they're
Mm,
counting. So,
okay.
and we should also point out here, aside from number one and number two, which in this case was Axe and Smash, nobody had entrance music when they came down to the ring, which also makes it very different from what you see today. It's kind of like things got added piecemeal over the years. Like we'll eventually get entrance music for each person coming down the aisle. Then we'll get chyrons on the screen with their name. And then we'll get the entrance videos, all to take us to the Royal Rumble we see today. Um,
Yeah.
Entrant number 4 comes down the aisle, Mr. Perfect.
Yes, Mr. Perfect. And then him and Ronnie and Axe, man, they all just gang up on Andre at this point.
Mr. Perfect in his trunks and not the singlet, which is so weird. I mentioned this on the last WWF show that we did, Survivor Series. I'm ready for him to be in the singlet. I feel like something's weird.
It is weird. Very weird.
At that point, Smash is eliminated by Andre the Giant. And then we get entrant number 5, Ronnie Garvin, last seen on the NWA Great American Bash 1988. Michelle, I know you've missed him. Miss Atlanta Lively herself.
That's exactly what I thought of. I was like, oh my God, he's the drag queen. I'm so excited. But I guess now would be the time to say Ronnie, Axe, and Mr. Perfect all gang up on Andre because Ronnie hadn't entered yet before. But
Entrant number 6, Greg the Hammer. I'm sorry, we're not calling him that anymore. We're calling him Debbie Lynn.
you can't say Debbie Lynn. You say Debbie Lynn.
Debbie Lynn.
There you go. It flows better. Yes, Debbie Lynn. I realized, and it was about this time during the match, I cannot hear the Royal Rumble buzzer, which seems to be like the same sound effect after all these years, you know? I mean, it's cleaned up a little bit, but I
Mm,
cannot hear that dang Royal Rumble buzzer without hearing brrr, you think you know me in my
oh,
head because I watched that clip so many freaking times.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that one of the best Rumble moments ever. We talked about that on
Yep.
last year's Rumble show.
Yep.
Ronnie Garvin eliminated by Andre the Giant. Andre's kind of cleaning house here up until entrant number 7, Jake the Snake Roberts.
And this is when I knew the crowd could see the clock because this is when they were counting down.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jake immediately goes after Andre, and they were feuding at the time. Andre's choking Jake on the top rope, and then Greg Valentine, sorry, Debbie Lynn, tries to hammer on Andre's back, and Andre just kind of kicks him aside. And Greg just kind of wanders off like, oh, okay. Well, we'll just find something else to do. So what does he do? He goes and gives a chop to Axe's chest. That's right, Axe, who has metal rings holding his gear together. That's gotta hurt, banging the back of your fingers and hands and knuckles on those things. Ouch.
Ooh, Debbie Lynn can do it. You know, she's got those mom hands that, you know, like when our mom would be washing the dishes and we'd stick our hand in there and be like, "Oh my God, it's hot." And she's like, "No, get back." Debbie Lynn has those tough hands. So
That's right. That's right. From whooping up on some boy who tried to get fresh down at the Piggly. Anyway.
exactly.
Entrant number 8, Outlaw Ron Bass. We talked about this is the final pay-per-view we're going to see him wrestle on. Apparently, Ron Bass, they said on commentary, had his hair cut off by Brutus the Barber Beefcake. But now with his hair length and hairline, he looks like Trent Beretta drank the ooze from Ninja Turtles.
Oh, I love the ooze. That's my favorite movie. But yeah, I can see that. I'm like, man, what happened to Trent Beretta? Because he was getting a big push. He got injured, right?
He did. Yeah, he's been gone a while, but he
Oh
was doing some fun
man.
stuff before he got
He sure
injured.
he sure was. And I feel bad that I just forgot about him.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jake Roberts eliminated fairly quickly by Andre the Giant before we get entrant number 9, Shawn Michaels from the Rockers.
Yas. So he's wearing those black and white striped boots, and it just like triggered this memory in my head I hadn't remembered. Do you remember those Shawn Michaels hats that we had in the early 90s? And they were leather in quotes, leather with like black and white stripes. And I also had the glasses to go with them. They were heart-shaped red sunglasses with Shawn Michaels logo on them. Do you remember those?
I do. You know where I got those hats?
Where?
When I went to the Royal Rumble in 1997 in San Antonio, I bought those.
I remember thinking I looked so cool. Like those were the coolest hats. I can't even describe like what style would you call that?
It's like those, almost like a cabbie hat, you
Almost, but it
know?
has more of a bill and it's a little taller, but it's a small
Yeah.
bill.
Yeah, they had the zebra print on the top, and yeah, it looked great on Shawn Michaels. It looked dumb on me, but
Me too.
and now speaking of Shawn, starting with this match and throughout his whole career, all the way through, watch Shawn's little tick. He constantly pulls at the waistband of his tights. Always, freaking always, does a move, pulls up the waistband, walks a few steps, pulls up the waistband. It's just his thing.
Oh man, I feel like I do that because I'm always pulling up my pants. Like even if they're not falling down, it's just like a thing. Oh my gosh, Shawn Michaels is our dad because I have the same tick. Oh wait, he's just your dad,
Uh,
right? No, our mom says my dad is John Stamos because I'm darker than you and other sibling.
well, mom gets around, I guess. I don't what the world.
See, you're Shawn Michaels' son. I'm John Stamos, and she just can't deny our sister is our dad's because they look exactly alike.
Yeah. Well, Axe from Demolition eliminated by Mr. Perfect. And at this point, Mr. Perfect tries to throw Shawn Michaels out, but Shawn skins the cat to get back in. And then this is when Jesse says, for the first time that I think we've ever heard, that both feet must touch the floor in order to be eliminated. So now that rule is a thing.
Cool. I'm okay with that.
Entrant number 10, somebody we've never seen on pay-per-view before. It is Bushwhacker Butch.
Doing
And
the
I'm
walk.
so excited about this because I loved the Bushwhackers when I was a kid. Butch here, born on October 21st, 1944, died just about a year and a half ago at the age of 78. On this pay-per-view, he was already 44 years
Man.
old. And the last pay per view we're going to see him wrestle on is WrestleMania 17, way down the line. His real name, Robert Miller. He and Bushwhacker Luke were originally known as the Kiwis and then followed by the Sheep Herders.
Oh.
They were, you would never guess it if you only saw them in the WWF, being all goofy and doing the walk and everything. But they were a super violent tag team, like in some of the bloodiest, grossest matches you've ever seen before coming to the WWF.
Where were they before? Like,
Actually, right before this, they were in the NWA and WCW. In fact, they were in the middle of a tag team championship tournament on WCW TV, and then I guess just left to sign with the WWF in the middle of the tournament.
okay. Huh. Yeah, I
But
am
the Bushwhackers inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2015. You know what I think about when I think about the Bushwhackers too?
this.
We had these family friends when we were kids, the Smiths,
Oh
right?
God, what'd they do? I just talked to her like 2 days ago.
And their dad, Bill, I remember, his son Will and I were friends because we watched wrestling, and her dad, Bill, said, "You like the Bushwhackers, Luke and Duke?"
You sound just like him.
I'm like, no, it's Luke and Butch. No, Luke and Duke. But
I'm gonna tell her go to like 28 minutes into this podcast and go listen to this because she doesn't care about wrestling.
yeah.
That's funny.
Well, so that's which one was that? That was Butch. So entrant number 11, Honky Tonk Man.
My dude, you know you like him. Okay, so did I just get my notes wrong? Because in my notes I put around this time Jake brought out the snake. Was he eliminated and then brought the snake back?
He was eliminated. Yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure my notes were right because I was like, hold up. But was the snake technically an entrant? Like Damien the Snake? Like, does he count?
He might be the Soul Survivor. That's the wrong pay-per-view.
Well, it was
Entrant number
me.
12, Tito Santana. And am I crazy? Did Ron Bass try to pin Tito during this match? Like, I swear I saw that. It was around the time that Bushwhacker Butch bit Honky Tonk Man in the stomach.
Yeah, I did see that.
That happened.
I don't know. I was just so distracted that Jesse was still calling him Chico. And so I was writing down, I was like, is he literally going to call him that his entire career? And then I looked up and Bad News Brown was coming out.
Yeah. Entrant number 13, Bad News Brown. And then Honky Tonk Man is eliminated by Butch and Tito Santana.
Man, well, Jesse right here says the fans are very upset to see Honky Tonk Man leaving. And like, I can't tell if he was being serious or facetious because I was upset. I love Honky Tonk Man. Like, was he joking?
I am with the ones who didn't care if he left. personally.
You know you do.
Um, it's at this point in the match too that Shawn Michaels, he shows that he's already a master at teasing eliminations. And in all these Royal Rumble matches that he's in, he is like the master of making you think, oh God, there he goes. Nope, nope, he didn't go. And even this early on, he's already good at it. It's incredible.
Yes, and I've said before, Justin, that do these superstars become superstars because they really are that much better? Or is it just the lucky ones that just happen to hit with the crowd? And I think this is an instance of, yeah, he was 23 years old and look what he was doing.
Yeah, yeah. And on the flip side of that, entrant number 14 is Marty Jannetty. So there you go.
My point.
Yeah, yeah. Ron Bass is then eliminated by a drop kick, a double drop kick from Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, leading us to entrant number 15, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. And now is when it starts to get fun
Yes.
in this match. Now, Savage, he doesn't even take off his sunglasses or bandana and instead just goes right for Bad News Brown, who he'd been kind of feuding with over the WWF Championship. But it's weird to me that the WWF champion would be in these early rumbles. Like, I get it. There's no stakes. There's nothing on the line. At the same time, why would the WWF champion really care about winning a rumble? He's the champion.
Because Vince said we need our top guy on TV. It'd be like Roman and, I mean, Cody. Cody's always in it, but he wins. So
Well, yeah, but he wasn't the champion though. That's what
oh,
I'm
yeah,
saying.
that's true, that's true, that's true, that's true. I was thinking,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it was just a way to get their top merch seller, toy seller on TV. That's all I
I
got.
guess so. Well, and we'll see why he did have to be in the match later on from
Yes.
a story perspective. Entrant number 16, Arn Anderson.
Yeah, and like once Arn comes in and he's just kind of chilling. I love that Bushwhacker Butch is just walking in circles doing the walk, not bothering anyone. He's just walking in circles in the ring. He's my fave.
Oh, I loved those guys when I was a kid. Greg Valentine, excuse me, Debbie Lynn is eliminated by Randy Savage, and then Shawn Michaels is eliminated by Randy Savage and Arn Anderson. That leads us to entrant number 17, Arn Anderson's tag team partner in the Brainbusters, Tully Blanchard.
Yes, and man, between Bobby Heenan and Slick, they're getting a workout because they're having to run back and forth between the ring and then back to enter with their wrestlers over and over again. I was like, good Lord, how many dudes does Bobby Heenan manage?
I wanted to see their Apple Watch after that, see their steps.
Ooh, that was a pedometer back then. Did they even have those back then?
Marty Jannetty is eliminated by Tully Blanchard. Entrant number 18, the immortal Hulk Hogan. Coming down the aisle, Hulk goes right to Mr. Perfect to save Randy Savage, who is in danger of being thrown out by Perfect. And then Mr. Perfect is eliminated by Hulk Hogan. Hogan then, being the nice, upstanding fellow he is, uses his bandana to choke Bad News Brown from behind. Hogan is a heel.
Gorilla would definitely defend that, but
Oh, yeah. He probably deserved it.
Exactly.
Tito Santana is eliminated by Randy Savage and Arn Anderson. Then we get entrant number 19, Bushwhacker Luke. And we haven't seen him before, so we got to talk about him.
Yes.
Born on January 8th, 1947, he is still alive today at the age of 77 years old. And if you look around at videos of fan conventions, autograph signings, he's still out there on the show circuit. So it's pretty fun. On this pay-per-view, he was 42 years old, real name Brian Wickens. And after retiring from full-time competition, he actually worked a little bit as a booker in Puerto Rico.
Ooh.
And along with Butch, of course, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2015, the Bushwhackers never won gold in the WWF. Can you believe that?
That is a freaking shame, because I think about, like the Acclaimed and like the Outrunners and, these goofy tag teams that everyone loves. And when they win, everyone's just so excited for them because they're so likable. So that kind of surprises me. I'm guessing maybe it was just a different time, different era where silliness wasn't necessarily equated with champion, but it was
Right.
still appreciated. But man, I wish they could have had some gold.
Yeah. Well, Bushwhacker Butch is eliminated by Bad News Brown. And around this time, Hogan gets Tully in position for a press slam. He's up over his head, but then drops him on the top rope, the guillotine thing. But it looks like he dropped Tully too soon, like before
Ooh.
Tully had time to prepare. And Tully's neck just like snapped back so violently, made me cringe. I was like, oh God, he's out of this match. But I mean, to his credit, he popped back up and got right back into it.
That looked painful. I remember when that happened. I was like, "Oh god." And I
Yeah.
jumped up and I was like, he got up and I was like, "Was that just did that look way worse to me than anyone else?" So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Well, usually you've got time and you block it with your armpits basically. So
Mhm.
they take the brunt of it. Tully didn't even get
Oof.
that. He just went down. It was
Ugh.
bad, bad, bad. But entrant number 20 comes down the aisle, Coco Beware. And the next note I have, Coco Beware is eliminated by Hulk Hogan.
Man, he sure didn't last long. He was in and out in about 15 seconds. He should have brought that bird as a distraction.
Right? Yeah, get Frankie down there.
Yes.
Bushwhacker Luke eliminated by Hulk Hogan. That leads us to entrant number 21, the Warlord. Warlord almost immediately is eliminated by Hulk Hogan.
Well, at least Coco lasted longer than him because Justin, this held the record for 20 years as the quickest elimination in a Royal Rumble at 2 seconds. So do you know who broke that record?
I'm waffling between two, and I'm not sure. So go ahead and tell me.
Santino Marella in 2009 in 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, and that's a
Yep.
classic clip that I feel like they show in montages every year. He gets in, goes right back over the top rope, and he's on the floor going, "I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready." It's really funny. The other one I was thinking of, we will see it one day, and it's hilarious because it's one of the Bushwhackers. He gets in the ring and goes across the ring, gets thrown out the other side, and then lands on his feet and just keeps doing the Bushwhacker wall. Like he just never stopped. It's hilarious.
Was it the
But
Royal Rumble when was it Titus O'Neil just slid under the thing? Was that a Royal Rumble or was
that
it
was the greatest Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, the first Saudi show.
there you go. It was just oh god, and it could have been very dangerous, but I watched that clip way too much because he just runs and just slides under. That was so dang funny.
Oh, Titus World Slide.
Yeah.
Bad News Brown and Randy Savage are eliminated by Hulk Hogan.
This is when it gets interesting. Yeah,
Mhm.
Hulk Hogan, quote, accidentally eliminates Randy when he's getting Bad News Brown out, and Savage is pissed. He's back up in the ring. He's yelling, and Gorilla's on Hulk's side. And I'm like, ugh. And Jesse is on Randy's side. I know we've talked about how we generally side with Jesse on these things, but then Elizabeth comes running out, and she looks like a Dalmatian because she's got this white dress with like all these black polka dots and she doesn't have shoes on. she's got
Huh,
she's
didn't
got
notice that.
you didn't? Oh man, it was bugging me because she had pantyhose on and no shoes, and that's a big no-no because then your toes look all wonky. But she gets between them, and I'm like, Elizabeth, girl, you are like 90 pounds. She is between these two big men, and she makes them shake hands and hug it out.
Yeah, they seem to squash it, but did you notice before the handshake, there was some boos from the crowd, but I couldn't tell who they were booing. Were they booing Hulk for eliminating Savage or Savage for getting in Hulk's face or a little bit of both? That's where it gets interesting to me.
Yes, I mean, it's hard to say because if it were me booing, I'd be booing Hulk for eliminating Savage, but I kind of think the crowd was booing because Hulk is like their lover boy. They love him. And so yeah, at this moment I'm like, this is it, right? This is the big turn. No, still no.
No. Yeah. Yeah. No, because we get entrant number 22 rather, Big Boss Man. And that's when Savage and Elizabeth clear out of the ring. And the crowd's hot for this. I mean, it's just Hogan and Boss Man in there. Boss Man's shirt is soaked with sweat, and I'm not sure if it's his or Hulk's. Either way, kind of ew.
I think it was
But
like Hulk's oil.
it could have been. It could have been.
Yeah.
Yeah. Entrant number 23 comes down the aisle. It's Big Boss Man's partner in the Twin Towers, Akeem the African Dream.
Yes, together, Big Boss Man and Akeem eliminate Hulk Hogan, but Hulk isn't finished. No, he's still beating people up from the outside and eliminating people. So, like, I really do not like how eliminated wrestlers can eliminate others. Like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I hate it. I think we talked about this last week or on some previous show. When you're out, you're out, you know. But the bigger issue here is it was a totally legal elimination of Hulk
Yeah.
Hogan. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was no shenanigans. They teamed up on Hulk and threw him over the top, and both feet touched the floor. And here's Hogan being a big baby about it for nothing. It's annoying. Hogan is a heel.
Let's change our podcast name to Hogan as a heel.
We should. We
We should.
should. Entrance number 24, Brutus Beefcake. Now, Brutus runs down there to the aisle to break up the brawl between Hogan and Akeem on the outside. Jesse says that Hogan eliminating Bossman from the outside isn't legal, and Gorilla says, "So what?" And Hogan and Bossman brawl to the back. It's just don't screw you, Hogan. Also, Brutus Beefcake's white fishnet ring gear here. It looks like something Seth Rollins would wear for a promo.
Totally. I can totally see that.
Yeah. Let's go to intro number 25, who is the Red Rooster.
Woo-woo.
And the crowd goes mild. Although at one point, Akeem slams the Red Rooster, and I would have died laughing if Rooster would have hit the mat and a bunch of feathers flew out of his mouth.
Oh, yes. I would have thought it was hot because everything he does is hot.
Oh,
Wow.
Lord. Commentary is talking about who we haven't seen enter the match yet, but who is scheduled. Stop. You're ruining the surprises. I don't like that at all.
I hate it. And like I had already kind of forgotten, in all this time since the pose down happened, I forgot who all was announced. But yeah, I'm like, quit it.
Yeah. Well, entry number 26, Barbarian. Barbarian saves Akeem from being eliminated, and Gorilla says, "Well, that was stupid." For once, I agree with Gorilla here, so that's a change. Entry 27, Big John Studd, who we have not seen in a couple of years on a pay-per-view, but it's a bad idea, I think, to have him brawling with Akeem for most of this match, because if Big John Studd's whole gimmick is how big he is, but the guy he's fighting is eye to eye with him, there is no gimmick. He's not Big John Studd. He's just John Studd.
Yeah, weird choice.
Yeah. We'll go through the rest of the entrance here pretty quickly because it stays kind of static in between them, really. Entrant number 28, Hercules. Entrant number 29, Rick Martel. And then finally, entrant number 30, because he paid off slick, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. So that's our 30 right there. Red Rooster eliminated by Ted DiBiase. Brutus Beefcake and Hercules are eliminated by the Barbarian and Ted DiBiase. The Barbarian is eliminated by Rick Martel. And now we're down to the final four, which is Ted DiBiase, Rick Martel, Big John Studd, and Akeem. So the smallest of the guys, probably Rick Martel. Mm-hmm. He's eliminated by Akeem. Big John Studd clubs Akeem in the back and eliminates him.
Hey, Justin.
Yes.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Akeem.
Akeem who?
I came in like a wrecking ball.
Jesus.
I didn't sing it into the mic, so that's good.
That's about the only thing good.
That was so funny. Our listeners are laughing.
I'm going to take a sip of my cranberry and pickle and try to recover from that.
That's nasty. Well, I was just grossed out because friggin' Ted DiBiase had this thick string of drool in his beard. And I hate, there's certain wrestlers today that drool, that thick, nasty drool. Jay White is one of them. And it always gets to me. But he had it in his beard. Ew. Well,
where would you keep your drool?
In my mouth.
Well, that's an option. Yeah, that's an option.
And if it's on his beard, I'm like, is that even yours? Ew.
Oh, gross.
Well, Ted offers Big John Studd money, but he doesn't take it. And I'm like, dude, you don't win anything. Like, take the money.
Right? Well, finally, after some back and forth and everything, Big John Studd eliminates Ted DiBiase, and the match is over with Big John Studd winning the Royal Rumble in 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 3 seconds. Now, after the match is over, Virgil, who's been on the outside because Ted DiBiase was out there, runs in the ring, tries to attack Big John Studd, and then Studd then dominates Virgil for about another 60 seconds or so. Like, why? It's over. Like, this last part added nothing. And then they play Big John Studd's music, which I realized at that point is identical to Jim Duggan's music. Might have even been moved from Big John Studd to Jim Duggan at some point. But finally, Gorilla and Jesse say they'll see us for WrestleMania 5. And we go to a photo montage of tonight's events and fade to black. What are your final thoughts on Royal Rumble 1989?
I like the Rumble a lot. I hated that they announced everyone. I really hope by next Rumble they quit doing that. Because I would love to go in blind with that. The other matches, they were okay. I mean, I honestly I can remember Harley Race in the women's match and there was some tag match. Like not a lot happened other than the Rumble. So it's kind of like you said earlier about how this could have just been the Rumble, which that's why I'm sure the women's rumble came about because it was like it becomes this big match that everyone loves. Maybe we just love it more now like here in the future in 2024 because we have that TikTok brain that you talk about. But overall, I like the show. I like the first one better, even though there were only 20. I like the surprise. Like that's a huge important element to me. But I thought the show was good. What did you think?
Yeah, overall, the main takeaway that I took was from the Rumble match itself, and the structure of it. If you watch a Rumble match now, you can tell that the whole 2 minutes thing is crap. What they're actually doing is setting up moments to happen before the next guy comes in. And then the next guy comes in, and then we do this moment that we had talked about. Things that are very visual that
Mhm.
carry the story through. Whereas we're still at the point now where guy comes out, okay, let's throw some forearms and chops for 90-ish seconds, 2 minutes. Then we'll send somebody else out. So the only real story to everything in this that mattered was Jake running in the ring and scaring Andre out with a snake. That was a moment. But really what mattered was the whole thing with Hogan and Savage.
Oh yeah, and when that happened, I was so excited. I was like, this whole pay-per-view was worth it because I was like, this is the moment, but it didn't happen yet. Yeah.
But overall, not a terrible show, just way too much non-wrestling stuff, way too much talking. The pose down sucked.
Yeah.
That
And
could have been on TV.
I am just shocked that Hulk Hogan wasn't in the pose down because that's like his favorite thing,
Right?
posing.
Well, let us know what happens after this pay-per-view.
Indeed. So after this pay-per-view, Jake Roberts and Andre the Giant continue their feud all the way to WrestleMania with Big John Studd even getting involved. But we're not going to see
You won't see him wrestle.
him. Ew.
Mm.
Interesting. Okay. Well, another feud continued in the build up to WrestleMania. Rick Rude continued to chase Ultimate Warrior's Intercontinental Championship, often distracting Warrior during his matches on TV. So that's a lot of fun.
It's got to be pretty easy to distract Ultimate Warrior, I would think.
Well, if you're Rick Rude doing the posing and the gyrating, I mean, I would be distracted, even though he's kind of a butt his face. It happens. Well, even though Rockin' Robin retained her championship on the show, she would leave the WWF in June of 1989. The WWF Women's Championship was deactivated in February of 1990 and would remain inactive until 1993.
Yeah. It was not a good time for women's wrestling on a national scale.
Jeez. Well, all right, here's the fun part. The Mega Powers are on the road to explosion. On WWF TV, Hogan and Savage were facing the Twin Towers, Akeem and Big Boss Man, and Akeem and like a wrecking ball threw
Okay.
Savage. Akeem threw Savage through the ropes to the floor, but Savage knocked Elizabeth down in the process. Oh no. Hogan got out of the ring, ignored Randy, picked up Elizabeth, and carried her to the back, leaving Savage alone with the Twin Towers. Oh, well, Hogan eventually returned, but Savage slapped Hogan, picked up his WWF championship, and left Hogan alone with the Twin Towers. And after the match, Randy confronted Hulk, accusing him of lusting after Elizabeth, of being jealous of Randy, and said that he'd even face Hulk at WrestleMania if he had to. It's happening, people. Hulk tried to reason with Randy, but Savage attacked the Hulkster, making the heel turn official, ending the Mega Powers, and setting up the main event for WrestleMania 5. I wouldn't even call that a heel turn. That is a face turn because you were a heel when you, like, it is not, no, he's going after your woman. It is a face move to turn on him, and I stand by that. Hogan is a heel.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
Okay, I'm off the soapbox now. Well, that's about it, but you got to hit me with some
Wrestle
more.
stats.
Ooh.
More
All
Russell
right.
thoughts.
Wrestle stats. Let's do it. We do have some updates on this one. Most matches that we've seen on pay-per-view, and I should point out that when we do these wrestle stats here at the end, we're only talking about wrestlers that we're going to see again at some point on pay-per-view, okay? So the most matches that we've watched on pay-per-view right now, Randy Savage was in 14 of them. Leilani Kai, still up there for the women at 3 matches. Haven't seen her since, I believe, last year. The most wins on pay-per-view, that's also Randy Savage with 11 wins. And the most losses, there is a new tie because originally it was just Nikolai Volkov with 7 losses for the most on pay-per-views that we've watched. He is now tied with Greg Valentine, Debbie Lynn, at 7 losses on pay-per-views that we've watched. Now, let's talk rematches. Out of the 155 matches that we've watched on Wrestle Recap, 6 of them have been rematches for a percentage of 3.87%. And out of those 155 matches, 56 of them have been title matches for a percentage of 36.13%. If you like those kind of stats, you can head on over on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads to Wrestle Recap. I'm sorry, that's us. Wrestle Stats on Twitter, Threads, and Instagram. And then you get stats just like those for all the modern shows, AEW, WWE, ROH, and TNA, day after day, week after week. That's how you find me on Twitter. How can they talk to Michelle?
You can talk to me and only me at Michelle Tater, or you can tweet the Wrestle Recap account, and it's just kind of a fun surprise. You don't know if you're going to get me or Justin because we're both on there all the time. I will say, I got to shout out to Lexus King because he is definitely thriving on those wrestle stats, and he has the most matches. He's a workhorse. So way to go, Lexus King. We love you. Yeah, and we've had a conversation before, Lexus King, because I remember in AEW, you had been thrown out of the ring, and I said, "Get up, you can do it." And you looked at me and said, "Thanks." So, well, yeah. So yeah, find me on Twitter at Michelle Tater, and then at Wrestle Recap. We have a fun time. Just talk to me about wrestling, ghosts, football, whatever. I just like to make friends. But Justin, what do we got next week?
Next week, we're going back to the NWA WCW for the Chi-Town Rumble. 4 title matches on this show, a loser leaves NWA match, and the return of Ricky Steamboat.
My boyfriend, one of them.
Does he have to do a pose down too, or is that just your husband who does that?